Industry on Parade. A pictorial review of events in business and industry, produced each week by the National Association of Manufacturers.
From the Navy to the Radio Corporation of America, an urgent order. Make us a communications console to keep all the ships of a task force in constant, immediate contact with each other. From RCA to Don Mossman, a small businessman of Joliet, Illinois, another order for a switch to serve as the heart of such a communications console. And Mossman also had to send out a hurry call to the Capital Machine Company, another small firm in Danbury, Connecticut, which had just the right machines and skilled personnel to produce the 889 parts of that intricate but very compact switch. "18 of Capital's 25 employees were assigned to production of a push-button switch of a type never even imagined before Mossman turned his engineering skill to the problem. Meanwhile, the prime contractor had farmed out to 118 other companies, some of them large, but most small ones like this, the job of turning out other parts for the fabulous new communications device. The people at Capital, experienced chiefly in the manufacture of spray baking equipment, adapted readily to this new assignment, carried out under Mossman's personal direction. In 4 weeks, they were able to report, the first model is ready for testing by the Navy. As the various parts, like Mossman's switch, arrived from all parts of the country, they were fitted together into a console, completed at 3 o'clock one morning, and delivered to the Navy at 7. By the next day, the Navy had given its approval, and production got underway at all those 121 companies participating in the contract. Wherever our Navy operates, it does so more effectively with the latest piece of equipment developed and produced by American industries large and small, all pulling together.
In America, nearly all of us are investors. When we save money, we invest it one way or another. We may invest it directly in a business of our own or buy stocks or bonds. We may deposit it in a bank or buy building and loan shares or a life insurance policy. And these agencies, in turn, invest our savings for us. Today, there are more than 14 million stockholders in American industry. Then there are the 70 million who have savings accounts and the 83 million who hold insurance policies. Added up, it means nearly every family has a stake in this nation's investments.
Birthday, happiest day of the year for those who can't remember more than a few. And part of the reason for the excitement and happiness are the birthday greeting cards that come from friends and relatives everywhere, all addressed and delivered to one very special little girl. Industry on Parade visits Kansas City and the plant of the Hallmark Greeting Card Company to learn a little about what goes into the familiar cards sent and received so pleasantly, not only on birthdays, but all the other occasions when a person likes to be remembered. Here, sentiment writers dream up the friendly, thoughtful messages, while artists by the score paint, draw, and letter the designs produced in never-ending variety the year around. These are the people who have much to do with gradual changes in the appearance of Santa Claus over the years. And don't think a lot of attention isn't given every hair in the old gentleman's beard. Where possible, the artists paint from real life for authenticity. The work of fine artists like Grandma Moses, Norman Rockwell, Winston Churchill, and many others are also used, especially on Christmas cards, as are reproductions of 12th century illuminated manuscripts. Extensive files of the cards put out in former years are maintained to avoid duplication among the 5,000 new cards Hallmark produces each year. In view of all the care and skill that go into the design for the cards, the firm utilizes the latest techniques in the graphic arts field to create perfect reproductions. Multicolor photographs are taken from which plates are made for each of the various colors. Here we see one such plate being retouched. Many cards receive special perforations and other characteristics by die cutting. On the color presses, the design is printed on the extra fine paper that adds its own touch of beauty to the finished product. The colors are checked constantly to make sure they're in exact register. Folding and insertion is done by hand. Valentines compose a large part of Hallmark's business. For more and more occasions, Americans turn to greeting cards to express the thoughts that they'd express in person if they could. And for sentiments in a lighter vein, the Squeeze-'em novelty cards provide both action and amusement. This model will be put in production if it meets with the approval of a committee presided over by Joyce C. Hall, president of the company he founded 40 years ago. The artwork and verses of every new card turned out must get the okay of this committee first. A lot of craftsmanship and artistry have gone into these familiar tokens of love, sympathy, or congratulation.
For beauty and fast conductivity of heat, the latest thing is cooking utensils made of stainless steel with an inner layer of copper. Here's a combustion liner for a jet engine made of a similar metal sandwich with great strength and the ability to draw off tremendous heat in a hurry. We're at the American Clad Metals Company plant in Carnegie, Pennsylvania, to learn how the metals are sandwiched together so permanently. This is a piece of carbon steel that will be encased in sheets of an alloy that's 90% copper. Part of the secret of getting steel and copper to adhere to each other is to make sure they're absolutely clean. Grinding helps accomplish that. The steel and copper sandwich is formed. This is just one of many combinations of dissimilar metals that American Clad Metals joins together in order to obtain all the best properties of each metal. Tack welded at the corners to hold them in place temporarily, the layers are forced together under tremendous pressure to expel any air that might be present. An air bubble, of course, would prevent the complete bonding of the components. Then, after the edges have been welded all around and the metal has been heated in a furnace, it starts through the roughing mill that both bonds the different layers together and reduces their thickness. The action is repeated over and over. Each trip through the rollers makes it a little thinner, a little longer. We don't see exactly how much longer the metal has become, because as it grows, they keep cutting it into shorter lengths for easier handling. After cooling, the plates go right back into another furnace, from which they emerge red hot and ready for the finishing mill, where they are reduced to precisely the right thickness. These plates will become cups from which the jackets for bullets will be drawn. Formerly, such jackets were made almost entirely of copper. Using clad metals, only a fraction of the jacket is copper, which means tremendous savings in this precious metal, not to mention savings in dollars. With scale that formed during the hot rolling operation removed in the pickling bath, the plates move on to be rinsed in hot water that washes off the sulfuric acid solution used for pickling. Now the metal is rolled still further on a cold reduction mill that imparts a smoother surface to the metals. Then there'll be a heat treatment, another rolling, and finally they're ready to be formed into little cups. The double action press simultaneously stamps out two round discs and shapes them into cups. From here, the cups will be shipped to arms companies to be processed into the finished jackets for bullets. But first, they must be inspected to make sure they conform to ordnance specifications, dimensions measured in thousandths of an inch. Though the rest of the job is not done here, displays of the finished product showing how the cup is further shaped after it leaves American Clad Metals help remind employees of the ultimate purpose of their work. In this time of crisis, while need for strong national defense continues, mighty important work it is.
As Americans, we have faith in the ability of men and women to govern themselves. We believe that after all sides of a question have been heard, the decision of the majority is, for the most part, the voice of wisdom. There may be times when we are led astray by emotion or false prophecies, but in the long run, the average opinion of all of the people is more reliable than that of an individual or a small group of individuals. If we are to serve the cause of democracy, we must reaffirm and strengthen our confidence in the individual citizen, which really means confidence in ourselves.
Here's a product currently enjoying tremendous favor with Americans young and old, popcorn. And it's especially popular in this Duluth family because the head of the house, Dick Anthony, in addition to his job at a local radio station, is branching out in a business of his own, the popcorn business. In his basement headquarters, Dick transforms a 100-pound bag of unpopcorn into 120 pounds of the fluffy white confection. The difference being, of course, the salt and vegetable oil. As in any one-man company, Dick is his own production man, salesman, and distributor. He finds that being the proprietor of a business is a lot more demanding than working for someone else on an 8-hour-a-day schedule. However, he also finds that it has its own particular satisfactions. Sometimes the rest of the family helps him with the popping, but the trouble with the kids is that they're their own best customers. In machines he has set up in stores and shops around town, Dick maintains a constant supply of fresh popcorn, kept warm by a light bulb in the top. He's convinced all food handling equipment must be kept bright and clean at all times. Collections, which are divided with the owner of the store in which the machine is located, are only part of the reward for a man who enjoys being on his own. The rest comes in the pleasure it gives a man to see a project he developed all by himself flourish and grow with a steadily widening circle of satisfied customers.